The Order of the Jackal, one of the great orders of the Thousand Sons. During the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, the Order of the Jackal was tasked with the initiation of new recruits, the internment of fallen veterans into the mighty chassis of dreadnoughts. But also, a little-known task that befell the Order was the guardianship of their secrets and knowledge. During the Space Wolves' assault on Prospero, one such cohort of the Order of the Jackal was tasked by the Crimson King himself to destroy much of the gained knowledge, so that even he may not be tempted to use its dark magics. Hi guys, my name is Banda, and many of you have asked me to do overviews of my armies and the conversions in them, and this is the first of these such things. And this is my overview, part 1 of my Thousand Sons army. At this time of recording, my Thousand Sons army is close to an entire company in strength. It is 99 Marines strong. And I'm going to go through the first section of it, mainly because my camera died and I haven't had a chance to record everything else yet. And I'm going to go through the characters and what they represent, and also the parts I've used to make them. So let's have a look at this. First up, I have a character who originally was supposed to be a senior HQ member in my force. He was one of the first Thousand Sons minis I put together, and he was from the body of Ahriman, plastic Ahriman model that came in the Burning of Prospero box set. I didn't want to use Ahriman. I generally don't like named characters because I find them quite limiting. And his setup, or his equipment, I chopped his arm off, I gave him a power claw, and I gave him a bolter. And those of you who are following the channel may know recently I had a bit of an accident with some of my models, and this guy was broken. And I took a time to rearm him, change him around. His base came off, so his base actually had a Primaris Marine on it, so I thought I'll swap the base out at the same time, get him fitted to the same style base as everyone else. So here I have now a member of a command squad, and he's been given a sword from the Mark 6 kit and one of the Volkite pistols that's from the new Age of Darkness Praetor. Other parts come from Ahriman and just a random Marine head, pardon me, and some parts from some Eldar kits which I've smattered throughout these models. He's painted with a coat of gold. In this case I believe it was Vallejo Air's Glorious Gold, and then I do a couple of coats of Citadel Air's Angron Red clear paint. Now many people have pointed out that my Marines come out looking rather orange, and that's not an accident, that is actually intentional. The image I've used in the thumbnail of this video and during the intro is something that inspired me many years ago, and I wanted to capture that kind of ruddy copper look of the armour, which I think actually fits sort of the Egyptian theme of the Marines and their Legion a little bit better. So that guy is in my command squad. I have a couple of other members in there now as well. We're slowly expanding it, and I'll have eventually a full legal command squad to use. Now, who are they going to be joining? Well, that would be the senior command of the Legion, of the cohort. And to start with, we have here a librarian or praetor model, and this is the commander of my force, the man tasked with the destruction and defence of these vast repositories of knowledge, so his troops can deny them from the enemy and from themselves. He's built using the Shadow Captain kit, or Space Marine Captain kit, that was bundled with the command squad for a while. He's had a lot of work done. The right leg, which you can see has the white decals on, has a very aggressive sculpted eagle on it. very reminiscent of sort of 6th and 7th edition sculpting by GW, their early CAD work. That was very carefully removed and filed as flat as I could get it back to being a standard Mark 6 leg. It was unfortunately a little rough, so I've managed to hide most of the damage behind that decal. On top of that, I removed his torso and replaced it with one from the Thousand Suns 40k kit. I do this for a lot of the models. These come from either the Exalted Sorcerer's kit, or they come from the kits such as the Rubikai kit and the Scarab Occult kit. So where you see that, that's where they've come from. I can't remember which ones come from which. He has a plasma pistol from probably the Mark 4 or Mark 3 kit. His helmet is definitely from the 40k Thousand Suns, and his arm is the one saved from that original Ahriman model, just with the force staff just slightly trimmed down. The Raven comes, I believe, from Anvil Industries, but may come from some other third-party retailer. Next to him is a chaplain clad in black. Now, it's a bit strange to have a chaplain in a Thousand Suns, but if anyone was going to have them, it's going to be him. And someone who maybe doesn't quite pay attention to the Psychers, he certainly would look after the neophytes of the Legion, making sure they didn't access forbidden knowledge and things they weren't allowed to know. He's made from a Thousand Suns kit from 40k, with several parts from different 40k kits. His staff, for example, is from the Exalted Sorcerers, as is his torso. His helmet is from the original Chaos Space Marine set, and it's a lovely throwback to the Mark V. Both he and the Praetor have Mark VI resin backpacks from Forge World. Next to them in his swishy dress is a Master of Signals, using one of the other legs from the Exalted Sorcerer's kit, and that's been added to a lot of parts from the Mark IV Command set, the head and the backpack there. I have used Primaris arms because it's very hard to find funky computer doodad arms anywhere else. On top of that, he has a Mark III torso and just some extra pouches from the collection. Lastly, in this force, I have a Herald who also pulls double duty as the standard bearer for the command squad. He again is made from the Exalted Sorcerer from the Rubrics kit, who has a nice tactical rock pose, a Mark III backpack, and parts from the regular command squad. He also has a Power Fist from the command squad, I believe, and the head is from Forge World and is the Mark IV Achaean pattern. Spiderwebs were provided on him from our local spiders. The staff topper from the Sorcerer's kit sits on top of his banner and just ties it into the Legion a little bit better, I think. Next up, we have the junior command team, or leaders of the Legion. And in here we start off with an Esoterist. You may have seen this model before, armed with his boarding shield and power fist, and several other parts from the Exalted Sorcerer's kit. He's also got a pair of legs from the new Mark VI Marines, and one of the horsehair crested helmets from the Mark IV set. I do like the Mark IV helmet, it is still one of my favourites. On his base is a sad Mark III Marine, and it is one of the old Mark III Marines as well. I picked up a load of them from a show I went to, and unfortunately stripping them revealed that they were just caked in plastic glue and they just couldn't be saved properly. So all of them have been relegated to battlefield casualty status, unfortunately. Next to my Esoterist, who does not have his demon companions yet, is a Legion Vigilator, and he is made from a Raven Guard Mordathan model that's just had all the Raveny Guard bits removed, a Chaos Anvilus pattern backpack added, and then an Achaean pattern helmet as well. I like the look of this, the idea of some armoured desert wanderer. He fits the Legion's appearance, but he's not too over the top like some of the sorcerers, because he is still a soldier first. He's carrying a Nemesis Bolter, which again comes from the Mordathan squad. Use this guy because it was cheaper to buy a Mordathan squad than it was to buy 5 separate Vigilators. Next to him, we have a Mortificator. And the Mortificator, you can see, has his badge of office, his corpulent staff. And he is made from the Iron Warrior's character from Kill Team Cassius. And I've given him a combi weapon from the Sternguard kit. I don't remember where the Power Fist is from, but the staff is definitely from the Grey Knights kit. Topped off with a head which I believe came from the Raven Wing box set, but I'm probably wrong there. And a couple of other doodads from around from the Thousand Suns kits. And I think he looks good for a guy who hobbles along at the back looking after some fallen dreadnoughts. Next to him is guest starring is Arzik Araman in all his glory, because I had to eventually use him for something. I'm not going to say much there because there isn't really much to say. Next up is the last of the Exalted Sorcerer parts, and that is a Mortificator. Moritat. Who is armed with 2 classic plasma pistols, one from the Chaos set and one from some Metal Vanguard veterans, with a lovely looking Mark II jump pack, because it's nice and archaic, and it also is a throwback to that piece of artwork I mentioned. And he has, again, the Achaean helm. Now, some of the models you'll notice are on these resin bases, and some of them are on traditional bases, and that's because I really have had to sort of go as I come to each model and build them as I go along. Sometimes I have bases available, sometimes I don't. Sometimes the bases aren't suitable for what I want to do, and I need to do some serious work on them. Next up, I have a unit of Recon Marines in Recon armour. And these guys were inspired by the Trappist Funk on Instagram, who did some wonderful conversions of scouts using the Goliath kit for his Blood Angels. So I thought I would copy that ad nauseum because I thought it was a fantastic idea. So these guys are made from the Necromunda Goliaths, and then the torsos are removed and replaced with usually Mark IV torsos. The backs are shaved down a bit, and I've given them Imperial Guard backpacks and just a wild selection of weapons, things to make them just look a bit more interesting. There's no rhyme or reason here. It wasn't really designed as a gaming unit. I just picked out what I thought looked cool, and it gave me a lot of time to try doing some interesting skin tones. This unit might get filled out to a full 10-man squad. I'm not entirely sure. It's quite an expensive squad when you break it down into parts and bits, but I think they do look quite nice, especially like the Sergeant with his Power Fist and Hand Flamer. Then I have my 2 Castaferum Dreadnoughts. The Castaferum Dreadnoughts, one of my favourite models, and these here are made obviously from the plastic Venerable Dreadnought kit, both of which I picked up through the old Space Marine Start Collecting box set, which cost almost as much as a Venerable Dreadnought now costs on its own, which is probably why I can't bring myself to buy another one. Some of them in decals, and then the 2 flags on the top are from Mastercrafted Minis. And they're about like £2 or something for them, but they're very fragile, and I may replace them. I was looking at them today. They have broken off, so I think I might replace those and then order some more, and then I'll have them on both Dreadnoughts and then possibly for a third as well. Sadly, there's no Contemptor Dreadnought in this army yet, but there will be eventually, and I will be planning to add another Venerable Dreadnought to this force. But speaking of Dreadnoughts, we do happen to have a Leviathan Dreadnought. This was the first Leviathan I had, and not the first Leviathan, the first plastic Leviathan. And the only thing I really did to him was I chopped off one of the headboards from the Thousand Suns Scarab Occult Terminators, and then I just popped that on top to kind of tie it in with the rest of the Legion. I then popped a couple of tassels on the front. I'm not sure where I've got those from. And then lots and lots of decals. I had to build the base up from plasticard to make the tiles, and then I used Yoo-hoo glue and blood effect to make the gore around his claws. I also had to chop off his toe and build a hinge because I wanted the toe to look like it was come down as he was stepping forward over some rubble. That, or he's doing the Bruce Lee sort of back step where he stamps on a guy and screams for a little bit. I've been told he looks like that as well. Or he might be just letting rip with a really, really horrendous fart. Lovely model. Nice big chunky model. Definitely something I want to add to some of the other legions, but I've just not had a chance to pick it up. Now I have a heavy weapons squad armed with the classic 40k multi-melters. I like these because they're big and they're chunky and they look mean, and the backpacks look really cool as well. These are made from Mark 6 Marines with Mark 4 heads, and with the Mark 4 heads on them, they've got a weird selection of pads, just what I had to hand really. I was running low on supplies at this point, and they are accompanied by an apothecary. And the apothecary is made up from parts from the Exalted Sorcerer's kit and the apothecary parts from the Command Squad kit, which is again another kit I'm really sad to see has gone. The hardest part of doing these was definitely painting hazard stripes on the 4 separate cables that go into the back of these power packs. So will I do these to a full 10-man squad? I seriously doubt it, because it took as long to paint the cables as it took to paint the rest of the models together. But lastly on this part of the video, we have a Spartan assault tank, and this was the second Spartan I ever put together. And to break up the monotony of the red, I liked to put a lot of black and gold in here. And I've used a lot of black in the Legion because I think it suits the sort of nature of the name, the Order of the Jackal. The Jackal being the Egyptian god of the dead with Anubis, and also worn by the priests who helped prepare people for their journey into the afterlife. I've also touched in with some white here and there just to tie into the Legion. And on this tank specifically, I've used a lot more gold on the edges of panels to try and break the shape up, because with all of this clear red, it's very, very, very bland when it's all together. I do like the kind of mix of Prosperian decals on there, the Egyptian stylings, the text, the hieroglyphics, but then also I have the old Terran reference in there with the Imperial Raptors from time to time, with a lot of nice pale white dust weathering on there as well. This beast is ready to take in a large group of Terminators and really ruin someone's day. Hopefully one day I will be able to expand the number of tanks in this force, but they're really not sort of a priority for me. So there you go, guys. That's part 1 of this video. Part 2 will be coming in a couple of days, I hope. And I really hope you guys gained something from this. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you sort of had some of the questions you had about this army answered. If there's anything you guys want to see more closely, if you have any questions, you can always drop into Discord and ask, or drop a comment in the video. Lastly, if you feel like chasing up and having a look at my threads, you can always go and have a look at them on the bolterandchainsword.com, which is the premier Space Marines forum on the internet. And I have several threads in there. You'll definitely be able to find them in the Hall of Honor, we call it, which is where we post all our finished projects. Okay, guys. Thanks for sticking around. It's been a long one. If you have any questions, just ask them down below. If you've made it this far, just say the Crimson King did nothing wrong. Alright, guys. Have a great day. Tomorrow's Friday. Alright. Bye-bye.